Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome back to the show. My name is Sean David. Thanks for tuning in. In today's episode, we're going to talk about some of the weirdest and worst movies that you have to say. And why am I saying we? Because I got a special guest in the house, Mark of Fanboy Flicks. Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. Now, we both have a huge catalog of bad and weird movies that we have seen in our life, but we had to narrow it down to 3 movies that we would consider are a must-watch products. And you made a list. I also have a list, but I think we can roll with your list because we would have almost the same movies on it. But what would be your number one pick?
My number one pick of all time, if I was to recommend for someone to try and get into bad movie watching, is Troll 2. And it's always been Troll 2 because I think it's the most entertaining bad movie ever made. It's a bad movie in every respect, but it is so entertaining throughout the entirety of the movie that it almost kind of makes you wonder what actually is a bad movie. I mean, it's really bad in terms of dialogue, story, and whatnot, but if you're being entertained the whole time, is that really a bad movie? So it raises an interesting question. But that movie, bar none for me, is the best bad movie. And I've watched it several times. I own the Blu-ray. I actually invite people over to my house who've never seen it just so that they can watch the movie.
You really consider it to be the best bad movie of all time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I really do. And it's just, I've watched bad movies my whole life, and I've really focused on watching them with this show. And even still, 10, 11 years after starting the show and researching all these bad movies, for me, it is the best bad movie because it's so, for so many reasons, it's a bad movie. But it's also so entertaining throughout. You can't stop watching it. And it doesn't really lag at any point in the movie. So it's just so thoroughly entertaining.
It's kind of funny that you say that because what I found out not too long ago, I always had the feeling that the movie was obviously a low budget movie, but a movie that had at least a certain budget. But I read on IMDb that the movie had a budget of $100,000, which is basically student project budget, which also explains a lot why the movie looks so bad, why some of the actors look like they never acted in the movie. Another thing that I found out, which I found pretty funny, there's a documentary, and I kind of forgot the name. Maybe you know it, the documentary about
Best Worst Movie.
Yes, the Best Worst Movie, exactly. And the director of the movie, Claudio Fragasso, was invited to a screening of the movie, and he was asked if he thinks that he did a good movie, and he actually believes that the movie is good, and he's not understanding why people are laughing about the movie, which to me makes the movie even better if the director doesn't even understand that the movie is terrible.
Yeah, I think the best bad movies are movies that aren't trying to be bad. They're very sincere in their intent, and it does actually make it even better when there's that kind of misunderstanding as to why the movie became so popular.
What is your favorite quote of the movie?
There's so many, but
you can't piss on hospitality.
I won't allow it. Yeah, that's.
I won't allow it.
The best one. Yeah, it's probably my favorite one. But I also like Nilbog. It's goblin spelled
backwards. You know what? Coming to think of it, the girl, and I obviously don't know the name of but the daughter in the movie. I thought she was pretty hot back then. I mean, I saw the movie for the first time, I think like 10 years ago. So a very, very long time ago. I think she was pretty hot.
Yeah, it's that early 90s style, the hairstyle and everything, plus the dance she does really kind of puts her on a new tier,
Oh, what a great movie. Okay, so what is your number 2 then?
Number 2 would be Samurai Cop. I love Samurai Cop for so many different reasons. The fact that, they had to do reshoots and the lead actor had to wear a wig for those reshoots. And it's obviously very apparent that he has to wear a wig. The ADR of the movie, the fact that it's not very well shot at all.
Yes.
And the dialogue, there's so many memorable lines in that movie as well.
It's kind of funny. You mentioned the wig, and it's already bad when you can see that the actor at some point in the movie is wearing a wig and sometimes he isn't. But the worst that can happen is that the guy's actually losing his wig in the movie.
Yes.
And the other guy is putting it back on, and they leave that part in the movie. I mean, we have to remember those were grown ass people that with a grown ass editor who was sitting in front of his computer and who thought, yeah, that scene is okay, let's leave it in. So that to me is still a mystery how something like that can happen.
Yeah, it always kind of it makes me feel for the people that were in the crew for these movies that are trying to do their best. And with experience in editing myself, I know that sometimes you get footage and it's like, well, now I got to figure out what to do with this. So sometimes when I'm watching these movies, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I feel bad for the editor of this movie because I know they probably weren't given the best footage or, a lot of coverage in the footage to work with. So they just did the best that they could. And some things are just completely unavoidable. So at what point, what do you do except, try and push the director to do reshoots?
Yeah, you're pretty right. It's kind of funny, again, that the movie had such a cult following over the last 10 years. And I remember that the movie came out in Germany on VHS, but obviously it never had some proper promotion. So it was like in the video store at the very last shelf. So nobody paid real attention to it. And yeah, in the last couple of years, the cult following started. They actually shot a second part. And what I found out is that the guy who played the samurai cop, Matt Hammond, is such a cool dude. Like, if you take a look at some of his interviews, he obviously knows that the movie is shit and he hates the movie too, but he also loves it because it helped him to become this star, so to speak. But I would recommend to anybody who knows the movie, go on YouTube, check out some interviews with the guy. The guy is super cool.
It's interesting. One of the great things about the bad movie community is that a lot of these actors who started these movies, 30 some odd years ago, at the time probably didn't think much of it. And now, 30, 20, 40 years later, sometimes all of a sudden it becomes this huge cult following and they become these celebrities after the fact. And I think that's what's so great about the community, though, is that part of the fun, especially, is trying to find these movies and discovering these movies. And that's where, the community comes in. A lot of times it's word of mouth, how I find out about the movies, or suggestions. And then there's a hunt to try and find like a decent copy of the movies. Yes. And a lot of them back then, some of them only had VHS releases. So you can only find VHS rips. But what I'm finding now is some of these old, cult movies are getting HD transfers. Yes. And it's really interesting to see them in HD, because sometimes it makes the movie look even worse, because then you see more of the flaws that you didn't get to see when it was in low resolution.
Yes, absolutely. They even translated Samurai Cop into German. I'm German, so I've seen it. I think it was on Amazon Prime, and I saw Samurai Cop and thought, oh, okay, the English version, cool. And then I saw translated into German, and like just to think that they re-edited the movie to have a better sound quality, because obviously when the movie came out on VHS back in the days, they had it. They had a dubbing already, but now a redub for such a terrible movie. It's amazing. One more thing that we have to talk about, our favorite quotes, because I think that movie had so many moments that are so funny, hilariously funny, but also so many quotable moments. What is your favorite one of the movie?
I love when he comes in and he's talking to Fujiyama and he goes, "Are you Fujiyama?" And then he goes, Fujiyama goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm a cop."
I'm a cop.
Yeah. it's just delivered with so much conviction. I love. There's so many great lines in that movie when he tells his coworker to keep it warm for him, or when he goes and he brings he brings his love interest, like makes her dinner,
Yes.
and he talks about the chicken, and he's
Yes.
like, I found this chicken, I caught it, and I killed it myself. And that was kind of his introduction.
Pickup
to
line.
dinner.
Yeah. Terrible. But you know that this was actually freestyled?
Oh, is that right? I
Yes.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, he said that in an interview that
Okay.
the director, what's his name, Amir Shervin,
Yeah.
didn't give him any lines and told him, yeah, make something up, and which you hear that it's.
Yeah.
If that was written in the script, I would even believe it because the script is so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was freestyle actually.
If you now that I think about it, if you go back and watch it, it becomes very obvious now that I think about it that it was completely ad-libbed, because it sounds like he's just kind of talking,
Yes.
improvising his own lines.
Yes. So we got two incredible movies now. Which movie is your number 3?
I would have to say Miami Connection. Miami Connection has such a great kind of 80s vibe to it, and it incorporates so many great things about 80s cult movies, ninjas,
Yes.
rock music, martial arts, action scenes, weapons, and the whole idea of the movie is kind of funny when you think about just it incorporates these different scenes, and somehow all these scenes kind of try and tie together, but sometimes they don't. These different storylines.
Yes.
You have the storyline with the band, and somehow that's causing the drug dealers to lose money somehow. And then you have the whole idea that these band members are also, they also live together and they train in Taekwondo, and they're going to take on this group of ninjas who are bikers at the same time. And then you also have this story with, I think the character's name is Jim, and his long lost father.
Oh, it's the
and
worst.
Somehow that comes out of nowhere.
It's the
But
worst.
it's probably one of my favorite monologues in
It's so
any
bad.
kind of movie that I've ever seen. And I love that monologue. I wish that I had more acting auditions that I could deliver that monologue on, but that monologue is probably my
it's the
favorite
worst.
bad movie monologue.
Yes. For those of you who don't know the movie, just imagine a guy crying for 3 minutes, but always the same, like, crying like little kids when they fall and they over ventilate, like I can't even imitate that because it's so bad. But go on YouTube, check it out, Miami Connection crying scene.
What makes it even better is that he's kind of seemingly, whenever he's at home, he's always ready to have a shower. So he's always got a towel over his shoulder, shirtless, with his pants unzipped. And of course, in that scene, he's having this emotional monologue where he's crying. And meanwhile, he's got the towel over his shoulder and his pants unzipped.
Oh, it's so bad. But what a great pick. The one thing that you already talked about, which I still want to highlight, though, is, and this is 100% the truth, soundtrack-wise, the movie is way too good for a bad movie. Like the music, for example, they have 2 songs which I have on my phone, which I actually listen to. And you have to avoid listening to the lyrics because they are talking about ninjas and stuff and being friends forever. But the music itself is just great. Rocking guitars, like real 80s sounds. So I can recommend that for everybody that loves, 80s, 90s rock. It's pretty good. I have to say something nice too.
The Friends Forever song, it became such a hit when I showed this movie to my friends during my best friend was getting married, and at the bachelor party, we went on a trip, and during the trip, I said, hey, one night I was like, we should watch Miami Connection. Nobody had watched it. It became such a big hit with the bachelor party that during the wedding, they actually played the song for us, and it was just a blast because none of the wedding, like none of the groomsmen were expecting this, so it kind of came out of nowhere, and it just became one of the highlights of the wedding reception was Friends Forever being played, and the rest of the wedding didn't know what was going on. Nobody had heard the song before, obviously, except the groomsmen, and we just went nuts. It was amazing.
Oh, what a story, Mark. Mark, before I let you go, now obviously when I introduced you, we slightly talked about that you also have a YouTube channel, a pretty big YouTube channel, which we got to mention, called Weird Movies with Mark. What can people expect when they would go on your channel? Because I'm a consumer for I think 7 years now, so I've been following your stuff for so many years, which I can recommend to anybody who loves fun entertainment and bad movies. But what are you working on not right now at the moment?
Well, I'm still working on my main show on my channel, Fanboy Flicks, which my main show is Weird Movies with Mark, and I'm still working every day on that. I'm working on 2 new videos right now. One of them is in black and white, and it's actually a German production that was dubbed over in English in 1960. And it's an interesting movie because it's about a secret island with radioactive spiders on it. Yet the radioactive spiders are secondary to the relationships of the people who are stranded on the island. I'm also working on another cult movie from 1993 that I believe is one of the worst, probably the worst movie I've ever seen. And I'm figuring out how to insert myself into scenes from that movie as well. So I'm currently writing them right now. So those should be out this month in February. And I'm really looking forward to these 2 videos because I have a little bit more time to work on them. As my last 2 videos, I was kind of a little bit strained for time coming into the end of January. But these 2 videos, I think, are going to be really fun.
Okay, guys, you heard it here. You got to check it out. Mark, thanks a lot for being on the show. We should do it again sometime, man.